I came home early that Wednesday, not because I wanted to. The project meeting wrapped up faster than expected, so I figured I'd grab lunch at the house instead of spending $12 on a sandwich that tasted like cardboard. I pulled into the driveway at 11:30, parked next to my son's Subaru and the black Jeep that belonged to Derek, my son-in-law. Both cars sitting there like they owned the place. I didn't think much of it at first. My daughter Emily and Derek had been staying with us for 3 months now, supposedly saving up for their own place while Emily finished her pregnancy. My son Trevor still lived in his old bedroom upstairs, working some remote tech job that seemed to involve a lot of video calls and very little actual work. The arrangement was temporary, that's what we'd agreed on. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The house was quiet, except for voices coming from upstairs. I set my keys on the hall table and headed toward my office, thinking I'd check my email before making that sandwich. The door to my office was closed. That was the first thing. I always left it open. I turned the knob. It didn't move. I tried again, thinking maybe it had just stuck. The knob turned, but the door wouldn't open. Locked. From the inside, somehow, though there was no lock on that door. I'd specifically chosen a doorknob without a lock because I used that room for work and didn't want to deal with keys. I stood there for a moment, hand still on the knob, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Then I heard footsteps behind me. "Oh, you're home early." I turned. Derek stood at the top of the stairs, wearing gym shorts and a tight black t-shirt that showed off the build he was so proud of. He was 28, 6'2", with the kind of frame that came from spending serious time at the gym, dark hair, sharp jawline, the look of a man who'd never been told no in his life. "The door's locked," I said. "Yeah." He came down the stairs slowly, taking his time. "We had to make some changes." "Changes?" "Emily needed a nursery." He reached the bottom step and crossed his arms. "The baby's coming in 2 months. We can't exactly keep her in a drawer." I looked at him. Really looked at him. There was no apology in his face. No embarrassment. Just a kind of casual certainty, like he'd already worked out how this conversation would go and knew he'd win. "My office," I said. "Was your office." He shifted his weight, still blocking the hallway. "You're retired now, right? You don't really need a whole room just for you. The baby comes first." The cold feeling in my chest spread outward. I could feel it in my fingers, in my jaw. "Open the door," I said. "Can't do that. Emily's sleeping in there right now. She's been tired all morning." He tilted his head slightly. "Maybe we can talk about this later, when everyone's had a chance to calm down." I stared at him for 5 full seconds. He stared back, not blinking, not moving, daring me to push it. I turned and walked down the hallway instead, past the kitchen toward the garage door. Derek didn't follow. I could feel him watching me, though, could sense that smirk even without seeing it. I opened the door to the garage and hit the light switch. 3 black trash bags sat against the wall near my workbench. They were the heavy-duty kind, bulging and tied off at the top. I walked over and tore one open. My books. The technical manuals I'd collected over 30 years in construction safety. Binders full of project notes, inspection reports, code references. I pulled out a framed certificate from the State Engineering Board, the glass cracked down the middle. Another bag had my desk lamp, my file organizer, a coffee mug my late wife had given me that said, "World's Most Careful Engineer." The third bag was tools, not the big ones from my workbench, but the smaller precision stuff I kept in my office. Measuring tape, level, laser pointer I used for presentations, a set of drafting pencils still in their case. Everything just thrown in like garbage. I stood there holding that cracked certificate, feeling the weight of it, feeling something shift inside me that I hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger, not yet. Something colder. Something that settled into my bones and stayed there. I heard footsteps behind me again. Different footsteps this time. Lighter. "Dad?" Emily stood in the doorway. One hand on her belly, the other braced against the frame. She was 7 months pregnant, showing enough that she moved carefully, but she wasn't fragile. She'd been a college athlete, played soccer until her junior year. Strong, stubborn. She looked like her mother sometimes. Same dark blonde hair, same sharp cheekbones. But her mother had never looked at me the way Emily was looking at me now, like I was a problem she needed to manage. "We were going to talk to you about it tonight," she said. "About what? Throwing my stuff in trash bags?" "We didn't throw it away. We just needed the space." She stepped into the garage, moving slowly. "Derek said you came home early. We wanted to have everything set up first, make it nice so you could see how good it looks." "It's my office, Emily." "Was your office." She said it softer than Derek had, but the words were the same. "You retired 6 months ago, Dad. You're not doing inspections anymore. You don't need a home office. I use that room. For what? She raised her eyebrows, genuine question in her voice. You sit in there sometimes, sure, but you're not working. You're just, I don't know, hiding? We need that room. The baby needs it. I set the certificate down on the workbench. Carefully. My hands wanted to shake, but I didn't let them. You didn't ask, I said. We didn't think we had to. This is temporary anyway, right? Just until we find our own place. A few months, maybe less. We thought you'd understand. Understand what? That family comes first. She put both hands on her belly now, protective gesture, intentional. That a baby needs her own space. We can't keep her in our bedroom. It's too small. You have the guest room. That's Trevor's room. Trevor's 26 years old. He can move. Emily's face changed. Something hardened in it. Trevor lives here. He's been here longer than us, and he needs his space for work. He plays video games and takes Zoom calls. He's a software developer, Dad. He needs... I don't care what he needs. I heard my voice get louder and pulled it back. This is my house. That was my office. You don't get to just take it. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Emily's jaw was tight. I could see her choosing her words. Is it your house? She said finally. What? Is it your house? Your name's on the deed, sure, but Mom died 2 years ago. You've been alone here since then. We moved in to help you. Help me? You're 63, Dad. You're retired. You don't have friends over. You barely leave except to get groceries. We thought... Derek and I talked about it, and we thought it might be good for you, having family around again, having a grandchild here. I looked at my daughter, at this woman I'd raised, whose college I'd paid for, whose wedding I'd hosted in my backyard, and I didn't recognize the person standing in front of me. Get out of my garage, I said. She blinked. What? Get out. Go back inside. Dad. Now, Emily. She stared at me for another few seconds, then turned and walked out. I heard her footsteps fade into the house, heard a door close somewhere upstairs. I stood there in the garage surrounded by trash bags full of my life and tried to figure out what had just happened. My phone buzzed. Text message from Trevor. Can we talk later, after everyone calms down? I didn't answer. I spent the next hour going through the bags, taking inventory. Everything was there, more or less, though some of it was damaged. The frame on that certificate, a broken hinge on one of my binders, small things, careless things, the kind of damage that happens when you're moving fast and don't really care about what you're moving. At one point, I heard voices upstairs again. Derek's voice, deeper, followed by Emily's, then Trevor's. A conversation I wasn't part of. A meeting about me. I kept sorting. Around 1 o'clock, footsteps came down the stairs again, all 3 of them this time. I heard them in the kitchen, talking low. Then Derek appeared in the garage doorway alone. We need to talk, he said. I'm busy. It'll just take a minute. He stepped inside, hands in his pockets, casual. Look, I get it. You're upset. This is a big change, but Emily's really stressed right now, and stress isn't good for the baby, the doctor said. I don't care what the doctor said. His expression shifted. Still calm, but cooler now. You should care. This is your grandchild we're talking about. This is my house we're talking about. Right. Your house. He nodded slowly. The house you're letting your pregnant daughter live in. The house where your grandson is going to be born. That house? Granddaughter, I said. Emily's having a girl. Granddaughter, then. Point is, we're family. We're trying to make this work for everyone, but you're making it really hard right now. I stood up from the workbench, turned to face him directly. We were about the same height, though he had 40 pounds on me, most of it muscle. You want to know what's hard? I said. Coming home and finding out someone changed the locks on a room in my house, that's hard. We didn't change the locks. We just put in a new doorknob. One with a lock, yeah, because Emily needs privacy while she's resting. But it's not like we're keeping you out permanently. We just need you to knock first. It's my office. Was your office. 3rd time I'd heard that now. Look, man, I'm trying to be reasonable here. We could have just moved your stuff out and not told you, let you figure it out on your own. But we wanted to do this right, as a family, have a conversation about it. This isn't a conversation. This is you telling me what you've already done. Derek sighed, long and theatrical, like I was a child who wouldn't listen to reason. Okay, let me put it a different way. Emily's 7 months pregnant. She's uncomfortable, she's hormonal, and she needs to feel secure. Arguing about a room nobody's even using isn't helping anyone. It's just making her upset, which makes the baby upset, which makes this whole situation worse. Then move out. The words hung in the air between us. Derek's face went very still. Excuse me? You heard me. If you need space for the baby, get your own place. That's what adults do. We're saving money. For what? You both have jobs. Emily's on leave, pregnancy complications. And my job? You're a personal trainer. You work at a gym. His jaw tightened. I'm building a client base. It takes time. But yeah, right now money's tight, which is why we're here. Helping each other out. That's what family does. Family asks before taking things. We're not taking anything. We're using a room that was sitting empty. He stepped closer, voice dropping lower. And honestly, you should be grateful. Grateful that your daughter wants to raise her kid under your roof. Grateful that you get to be part of this. A lot of grandparents don't get that. I looked at him, at that face so certain of itself, so sure it had already won. Get out of my garage, I said. We're not done talking. Yeah, we are. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not a friendly smile. Something else. Fine, he said. We'll table this. But you need to think about what you're doing here. Because if you keep pushing, if you keep making this difficult, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in. And trust me, you don't want that. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. He turned and walked toward the door, then stopped and looked back. Emily's willing to give you time to adjust. So am I. But there's a limit, and you're getting close to it. He left. I stood there in my garage, surrounded by trash bags, and felt that cold thing in my chest expand until it filled my whole body. I knew what this was now. I'd seen it before, in other contexts, with other people. The slow takeover, the gradual assumption of control. It started small, with little things, boundary tests to see what you'd tolerate, and if you let those slide, the tests got bigger, the boundaries moved further. They'd taken my office because they thought they could. The question now was what else they thought they could take. I pulled out my phone and made a call. It rang 4 times before someone picked up. Martin residence. Hey, Bill, it's Peter. Peter, long time. How you been? Bill Martin and I had worked together for 15 years before I retired. He'd been a city building inspector, one of the good ones, the kind who actually knew the code and didn't just check boxes. We'd grabbed lunch every few months since I left, kept in touch. I've been better, I said. You still doing inspections? Sure am. Got another 5 years before they kick me out. Why, you need something? Maybe. You free for lunch tomorrow? For you? Always. Where you want to meet? That diner on 5th, the one with the good coffee? Noon work. Perfect. I hung up and looked at the trash bags again. Then I looked at the door leading back into the house, where I could hear voices still talking upstairs, still discussing me, still deciding what came next. They thought they'd won. They thought I'd just accept this, roll over, let them have whatever they wanted. Because what was I going to do about it? I picked up that cracked certificate, looked at my name printed there in official state letterhead. Peter Raymond Morrison, licensed professional engineer, certified construction safety inspector. 30 years I'd spent making sure buildings were safe, making sure people followed the rules, making sure nobody cut corners just because it was easier. I'd gotten very good at it. I put the certificate back in the bag and went inside to make myself lunch. Thursday morning, I woke up at 6, same as always. Old habits. Even retired, my body still ran on that schedule, the one I'd kept for 3 decades of sunrise inspections and early meetings. I got dressed, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. The house was quiet. Derek and Emily didn't surface before 9 most days, and Trevor usually worked from bed until noon. I had the place to myself. I opened my email and started going through old messages, looking for specific names. People I'd worked with, contractors I'd vetted, city officials who owed me favors. I'd spent 30 years building relationships in this town's construction community, and I'd never burned a bridge. Always stayed professional, always played fair. Time to call some of those in. I sent 3 emails before 7 a.m. Short, casual, just checking in. Then I finished my coffee and went out to the garage. The trash bags were still there. I'd left them on purpose, wanted to see if anyone would do anything about them. They hadn't. I opened the first one again and pulled out a 3-ring binder labeled Code Compliance 2019-2022. Inside were copies of inspection reports, permit applications, violation notices, standard stuff I'd kept for reference. I flipped through until I found what I was looking for. residential safety requirements, room occupancy standards, ventilation codes for sleeping spaces. I took photos of 6 different pages with my phone. Around 8:30, I heard movement upstairs, shower running, footsteps in the hallway. The coffee maker starting up for the second time. I stayed in the garage. At 9, Trevor came out. He was dressed for the day, which meant jeans and a hoodie, same thing he wore every day. He spotted me through the open garage door and hesitated, then walked over. "Hey, Dad." "Trevor." He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. "About yesterday." "What about it?" "I didn't know they were going to do that." "Turn your office into the nursery. They told me after." "Did they?" "Yeah." He shifted his weight. "I would have said something if I'd known. Given you a heads up, at least." I looked at my son. 26 years old, college degree in computer science, good job, decent salary from what he'd told me, still living at home because rent was expensive, and why pay it when you didn't have to? "But you didn't say anything after," I said. "What?" "After you found out. You didn't come tell me. Didn't warn me. Just let me walk in and discover it myself." He looked away. "I figured you guys would work it out." "Work what out, exactly?" "I don't know. Figure out a compromise or something. You're both adults." "Your sister took my office without asking and threw my belongings in trash bags. What's the compromise there?" Trevor's jaw worked. "It's just a room, Dad." "It's my room, in my house." "I know, but..." He trailed off, shook his head. "They need it more than you do. That's just the reality. Emily's about to have a baby, you're retired, you don't actually need an office anymore." 4th time now. Different person, same script. "Who told you that?" I asked. "What?" "Who told you I don't need it? Did you come up with that yourself, or did Derek explain it to you?" Trevor's face flushed. "Nobody told me anything. I can see it for myself. You barely use that room." "You don't know what I use it for." "Then what? What do you use it for that's so important?" I didn't answer, just looked at him until he looked away again. "This is stupid," he said finally. "Fighting over a room. Emily's stressed out. Derek's trying to keep the peace, and you're acting like they committed some crime. They're family. You should be helping them, not making everything harder." "I am family too." "Yeah, and you're the parent, the grandparent. You're supposed to be the bigger person here." The bigger person. I'd heard that before too, usually from people who wanted you to accept something you shouldn't have to accept. "Go back inside, Trevor." "Dad." "I'm busy. Go." He stood there another moment, then turned and left. I heard him say something to someone inside, heard a door close. I went back to my binder. At 10:30, I drove to the hardware store and bought a set of doorknobs, the kind with locks. Professional grade, not the cheap builder basic ones. Then I stopped at an office supply store and picked up file boxes, the sturdy cardboard kind with handles. By the time I got back home, Derek's Jeep was gone. Emily's car was still there, and Trevor's Subaru. I parked and carried everything into the garage. Nobody came out to ask what I was doing. I spent the next hour packing my stuff from the trash bags into the file boxes. Organized, labeled, everything in its place. When I was done, I stacked them against the back wall of the garage, 5 boxes total, and covered them with a tarp. My phone rang. Bill Martin. "Hey, Peter, still good for lunch?" "Absolutely." "Great. See you at noon." I washed up, changed my shirt, and headed out. The diner was one of those local places that had been around forever. Chrome and vinyl booths, coffee strong enough to strip paint. Bill was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a menu he didn't need. He'd been coming here longer than I had. "Peter." He stood and shook my hand. Bill was 61, built like a fire hydrant, with gray hair buzzed military short, and a handshake that could crack walnuts. "Good to see you." "You too." We sat. The waitress came over and we both ordered the usual, burgers and fries and coffee, the kind of meal men our age probably shouldn't eat but did anyway. "So," Bill said after the waitress left. "What's going on?" I told him. Not everything, not the emotional parts, but the facts. My daughter and son-in-law living with me, the office converted to a nursery, the way they'd done it without asking. Bill listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally, his inspector's face giving nothing away until I finished. "They changed the locks," he said. "Put in a new doorknob, one with a lock. On a door that didn't have a lock before." "Right. In your house." "Correct." He sat back and shook his head. "That's bold." "That's one word for it." The coffee arrived. We both drank some. Bill set his cup down and looked at me directly. "What do you want to do about it?" "I want my office back." Okay, how? I was hoping you could help me figure that out. Bill smiled, not a happy smile, but the kind you give when someone's asked you to do something you're good at. You want me to inspect the nursery. Can you? Legally, sure. Anyone can request an inspection. Just file the paperwork, pay the fee. But Peter, if I go in there and find violations and I write them up, that's going to cause problems. Big problems. Family problems. I know. You sure you want to do that? I thought about Derek's smirk. About Emily's certainty that I'd just accept this. About Trevor telling me to be the bigger person. Yeah, I said. I'm sure. Bill nodded slowly. All right. Tell me about the room. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken earlier. It's on the second floor, northeast corner. Used to be my office. About 12 by 14 feet. One window faces the street. They put in a crib, changing table, rocking chair. Painted the walls. Added blackout curtains. What about electrical? Original wiring, as far as I know. They might have added a plug-in nightlight or something, but no new circuits. Ventilation? Same as it was. One window, no fan, standard HVAC vent. Heating? Baseboard electric. Original installation, probably 20 years old. Bill frowned. They put a nursery in a room with baseboard heat? That's what they did. And the window? Standard double hung. Original to the house. No safety latches that I know of. He frowned deeper. What year was the house built? 1987. So the window's probably not up to current code for a child's room. He pulled out a small notebook and started writing. Baseboard heat is a burn hazard for infants. Window needs approved safety latches and possibly guards depending on height from ground. Ventilation might not meet current standards for a sleeping room, especially with blackout curtains restricting airflow. What else? Depends what I find when I get there. Electrical outlets need to be covered or child-proofed. Crib placement matters, can't be too close to windows or heating elements. Door needs to open outward in case of emergency, or at minimum can't have anything blocking it from inside. He kept writing, filling a page with notes in his tight engineer's handwriting. This is assuming they didn't pull permits, he said. I'm sure they didn't. Change of room use from office to nursery requires a permit in this county. It's a different occupancy class. Did they do any construction? Move walls, add closets, anything structural? Not that I know of, just paint and furniture. Might not matter. If they change the room's designated use on the property records, that's a permitted alteration. He looked up at me. Did they? I don't know. Find out, because if they filed paperwork saying that room's now a nursery and they didn't get proper permits, that's a violation right there before I even walk in the door. How do I check that? County Assessor's Office. Property records are public. Look up your address, see if there's been any recent modifications filed. I made a note on my phone. Our food arrived. We ate in silence for a few minutes. The burger was good, hot and greasy, the kind of comfort food you eat when you're planning something you probably shouldn't do. Peter, Bill said eventually, I gotta ask, you really want to go to war with your family over this? They started it. Maybe, but once I file that inspection report, there's no taking it back. It becomes official record. They'll have to fix the violations or face fines, and they'll know you're the one who called it in. Good. He studied me. This isn't just about the room, is it? No. What's it about? I set down my burger and looked at him. It's about them thinking they can do whatever they want in my house because I'm old and retired and don't matter anymore. It's about my son-in-law looking at me like I'm an obstacle instead of a person. It's about my daughter choosing her husband over her father without even thinking twice. And your son? My son thinks I should just take it, be the bigger person, let it go. Bill nodded slowly. Family's complicated. Family's supposed to respect each other. Supposed to, yeah. He finished his coffee. All right, I'll do it. But I need you to file the inspection request yourself. Can't have it coming from me, conflict of interest. You're the homeowner. You have the right to request an inspection of any room in your house for any reason. I'll be the one they assign to do it. How do you know they'll assign you? Because I'll make sure of it. I've got seniority, I choose my own schedule. When you file, request a specific date, make it next week. I'll put myself on that route. What day? Tuesday. That gives you the weekend to do your homework. Check those property records. Take photos of the room if you can get in there. Document everything. They'll lock me out. You own the house. You have rights. But don't force it. If they won't let you in, note that in your inspection request. Inspector shows up and the homeowner can't access his own room? That's a red flag. I nodded. Tuesday. Tuesday. He pulled out his phone and made a note. "This is going to get ugly, Peter. You know that." "I know. They might move out. Cut you off from the grandkid. Maybe. You okay with that?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. Was I okay with possibly never seeing my granddaughter? With Emily refusing to speak to me? With Trevor taking their side? "If it comes to that," I said, "it means they were never really here for me in the first place. They were here for the free housing." Bill looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Fair enough." We finished lunch. I paid the check. We stood outside in the parking lot, cold November wind cutting through our jackets. "One more thing," Bill said. "When I do the inspection, I have to be professional. By the book. I can't give you special treatment, can't overlook things I'd normally cite. If I find violations, I write them up, same as I would for anyone else. Understood?" "Understood." "And if I don't find anything, if the room's actually up to code, you have to accept that." "I will." "Okay, then." He shook my hand again. "File that request. I'll see you Tuesday." I drove home with my windows down despite the cold, needing the air, needing to think clearly. Bill was right. This was going to get ugly. But ugly was better than being slowly erased from my own life. I pulled into the driveway around 2. All 3 cars were there now. Family meeting, probably. Discussing how to handle difficult old Peter. I went inside through the garage. The house was quiet again, but I could hear voices upstairs. Low, intense. Someone was upset. I went to the kitchen and got a glass of water, stood at the sink drinking it, looking out at the backyard. The grass needed mowing one more time before winter. The fence could use a repair on the south side. Small things, normal things. The kind of things I'd been doing for this house for 20 years. Footsteps on the stairs. I didn't turn around. "We need to talk." Emily's voice. I set down the glass and turned. She stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed over her belly. Her face was blotchy, eyes red. She'd been crying. "About what?" I said. "About you being unreasonable." "Okay, talk." She came into the kitchen, moving slowly, one hand supporting her lower back. Pregnancy discomfort. Real, not performed. "Derek told me what you said yesterday about us moving out." "He got that right. We can't move out, Dad. We don't have the money yet, and I can't be stressed like this right now." "Then stop stressing." "How?" Her voice cracked. "How am I supposed to stop stressing when you're acting like we did something horrible? We just needed a room for the baby, that's all. We weren't trying to hurt you." "You took my office without asking." "It was empty. It was mine." She pressed her hands to her face, breathing hard. When she looked up again, tears were running down her cheeks. "What do you want from us?" she said. "You want us to leave? Fine. We'll leave. We'll go live in Derek's parents' basement, even though there's black mold down there and his dad drinks too much and his mom hates me. We'll put the baby in danger just so you can have your precious office back. Is that what you want?" The manipulation was so obvious it almost made me laugh. Almost. "What I want," I said carefully, "is for you to treat this like my house instead of yours. To ask permission instead of taking things. To show some basic respect. We do respect you." "Then show it." She wiped her face with her sleeve. "We're trying, Dad. We really are. But you're making everything so hard. Trevor said you won't even talk about compromise." "What compromise? You already took the room. What's left to compromise about?" "We could, I don't know, set up a desk for you somewhere else? The basement, maybe? Or we could share the room, put some of your stuff back in there." "I don't want a desk in the basement. I want my office." "You can't have it." She was crying harder now, hands shaking. "We need it more than you do. Please, Dad. Please just let this go. For me. For your granddaughter. Using the baby as a weapon." Second time now. "Where's Derek?" I asked. "What?" "Derek. Where is he?" "Upstairs." "Why?" "Tell him to come down." "Dad. Tell him." She stared at me, then turned and called up the stairs. "Derek, can you come down here?" Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Derek appeared at the top of the stairs, looked at Emily, then at me. "What's up?" he said. "Come here," I said. He came down slowly, reading the room. When he reached the kitchen, he put his arm around Emily's shoulders, protective gesture, claiming her. "You need something," he said to me. "Yeah, I need you both to listen very carefully." I looked at each of them in turn. "This is my house. My name is on the deed. I paid the mortgage for 20 years. Every room in it belongs to me, including the one you turned into a nursery." "We know that," Derek said. "But I'm not finished." My voice was level, calm. You took that room without permission. You threw my belongings in trash bags like garbage. You changed the lock so I couldn't get in. And now you're using emotional manipulation and my granddaughter as leverage to make me accept it. That's not what we're doing, Emily said. Yes, it is, and it stops now. I looked at Derek directly. You've got until the end of the month to find your own place. After that, you're out. Emily's face went white. You can't. I can. It's my house. I'm your daughter. You're also an adult who made choices. You chose to marry Derek. You chose to get pregnant. You chose to live here without contributing to rent or utilities or groceries. And you chose to take my office and then tell me I should be grateful for it. Those were your choices. This is mine. Derek's arm tightened around Emily. You're really going to kick out your pregnant daughter? I'm going to stop enabling two adults who treat me like an inconvenience. This is insane, Derek said. You're throwing us out over a room? No, I'm throwing you out for disrespecting me in my own home. We didn't disrespect you. You just assumed I'd go along with it. You assumed wrong. Emily was sobbing now, full breakdown, hands over her face. Derek held her, but his eyes were on me and there was something new in them. Not shock, not hurt. Calculation? You'll regret this, he said quietly. Is that another threat? It's a prediction. Emily's your only daughter. That baby's your only grandchild. You really want to cut yourself off from them? I'm not cutting myself off. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. He guided Emily toward the stairs. Come on, babe. Let's go upstairs. They left. I heard them go into their room and close the door. Then I heard Emily crying through the walls, loud enough to make sure I heard it. I stood in the kitchen and felt absolutely nothing. My phone buzzed. Text from Trevor. What the hell, Dad? I deleted it without responding. Then I went to my laptop and pulled up the county assessor's website. Time to check those property records. The house was too quiet. I stood in the empty nursery for a long time after they left, just looking at the pink walls, the abandoned curtain rod, the carpet still marked with indentations from where the crib had sat. The afternoon light came through the window and made the whole room look sad, like a party after everyone's gone home. I'd won. I'd gotten what I wanted. They were gone, and this was my space again. So why did it feel like I just lost something? I went downstairs and made myself lunch. Stood at the counter eating a sandwich I didn't taste, staring at the kitchen table where we'd had that confrontation 3 days ago. 4 days? Time was already blurring. My phone sat silent on the counter. No texts, no calls. I picked it up and almost called Emily. Almost texted her. Asked if they got to Derek's parents' house okay. If she was feeling all right. I set the phone back down. This was the boundary I'd set. This was the consequence I'd enforced. If I backed down now, if I reached out first, it would tell them I wasn't serious, that they could push me and I'd fold. No. I finished my sandwich and went back upstairs. Trevor's door was closed. I knocked. What? His voice was muffled. Can I come in? Pause. It's your house. I opened the door. Trevor was at his desk, headphones on, 3 monitors glowing in front of him. He pulled the headphones off and turned to look at me. They're gone, I said. I know. I watched from my window. You didn't say goodbye? What was I supposed to say? Sorry, my dad's a stubborn asshole who cares more about a room than his daughter? I absorbed that. Is that what you think? Isn't it true? No. Then what is it about, Dad? Because from where I'm sitting, you just drove away your pregnant daughter over something that didn't matter. I leaned against the doorframe. It mattered to me. Why? You weren't even using that room. You barely went in there anymore. Most days you just sat in the living room with your laptop. That's not the point? Then what is the point? I looked at my son, trying to find words that would make him understand. The point is they took something without asking. The point is they treated my home like it was already theirs. The point is they looked at me and saw someone who didn't matter enough to consult. You're being dramatic. Am I? When was the last time someone asked my permission for anything in this house? Trevor frowned. What are you talking about? You, Emily and Derek. When was the last time any of you asked me before doing something? Eating my food, using my Netflix, parking in the garage, having people over. That's normal stuff. That's just living together. Right. And converting my office to a nursery without asking? Is that normal too? He didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said. You all stopped seeing me as the homeowner, stopped seeing this as my house, Started treating it like community property where I was just another roommate who could be outvoted? Trevor turned back to his monitors. So you kicked them out to prove a point. I kicked them out because they crossed a line. And now Emily's going to live in a moldy basement with Derek's alcoholic father. Great job, Dad. Really showed them. The guilt tried to surface again. I pushed it down. She made her choices, I said. She chose Derek. She chose to get pregnant before they were financially stable. She chose to take my office. Those were her decisions. I'm not responsible for the consequences. You're her father, and she's an adult. Trevor shook his head, dismissive. Whatever. I can't talk to you when you're like this. Like what? Like someone I don't know? He put his headphones back on, conversation over. I stood there for another moment, then left and closed the door behind me. The house felt even quieter after that. I went back to the garage and tried to work on organizing my stuff, but I couldn't focus. Kept thinking about Emily in that truck, crying, about the baby coming in 2 months, about whether Derek's parents' basement really did have mold. Not my problem. I repeated it to myself like a mantra. Not my problem, not my responsibility, not my fault. By evening, I'd convinced myself it was true. I made dinner, just for one, since Trevor had apparently decided he wasn't eating with me anymore. Pasta with sauce from a jar, eaten in front of the TV while some sitcom played that I wasn't watching. My phone rang around 8. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Morrison? Yes. This is Patricia Webb from County Child Protective Services. I'm calling about a report we received today concerning a minor who may be at risk. My stomach dropped. What? We received a call from a concerned party indicating that an infant nursery at your residence was forcibly shut down by building inspectors, and that a pregnant woman was made to leave the home as a result. Can you confirm that events matching this description occurred? I closed my eyes. Who called you? I can't disclose that information. Can you confirm the events? There's no infant. My daughter is pregnant, yes, but the baby hasn't been born yet. And she wasn't made to leave. She chose to. I see. And the nursery inspection? I requested a routine building inspection to ensure the room met current safety codes. That's all. Why did you request that inspection, Mr. Morrison? Because the room's use had been changed without proper permits. I wanted to make sure it was safe. Safe for whom? For the baby. For everyone. Pause on the other end. Papers rustling. Mr. Morrison, I'm looking at the report, and the person who called stated that you threatened to harm the unborn child unless your daughter left your property. Can you respond to that allegation? That's insane. I never said anything like that. So you deny making threats of any kind? Absolutely. I asked them to find their own place, yes, but I never threatened anyone, especially not a baby. More rustling. And the inspection found violations? I don't know yet. The report hasn't been filed. But you knew there would be violations when you requested the inspection. I suspected there might be issues with current code compliance, yes. Issues that would make the room unusable as a nursery. I saw where this was going. I wanted to make sure the room was safe, that's all. By making it legally unusable, forcing your pregnant daughter to leave. That's not what happened. Then what did happen, Mr. Morrison? I took a breath, chose my words carefully. My daughter and her husband were staying with me temporarily. They converted a room in my house to a nursery without asking permission and without pulling required permits. I requested a safety inspection to ensure the room met code. They chose to leave before the inspection was complete. That's what happened. Long pause. I see. And where is your daughter now? With her husband's parents. Do you have contact information for them? I gave her Derek's parents' address and phone number. She wrote it down. Mr. Morrison, I need to be clear about something. If we determine that you acted in a way that endangered a pregnant woman or an unborn child, even indirectly, there can be serious consequences. This office takes such matters very seriously. I didn't endanger anyone. We'll make that determination. I'll be following up with your daughter and with the building inspector. If our investigation shows that you use building codes as a weapon to force out a vulnerable person, that could constitute elder abuse, harassment, or reckless endangerment. Elder abuse? Oh, she's not elderly. She's 29. The laws protect pregnant women and unborn children, Mr. Morrison. Age isn't relevant. This is ridiculous. Perhaps we'll see what our investigation reveals. In the meantime, I need to ask you not to contact your daughter or her husband until our inquiry is complete. You can't do that. She's my daughter. I'm not ordering you. I'm advising you. If you contact her and she perceives it as intimidation or harassment, it will only complicate matters. For your own sake, I suggest you wait until you hear from us." She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like I'd just been gut-punched. They'd called CPS on me. Emily or Derek or both of them had actually called Child Protective Services and accused me of threatening an unborn child. The rage that swept through me was white-hot and immediate. My hands shook. My vision tunneled. They were trying to make me the bad guy, trying to paint me as dangerous, unstable, a threat. All because I'd enforced basic property rights in my own home. I wanted to call Emily right then, wanted to scream at her, wanted to ask her how she could possibly do this to her own father. But that CPS woman's warning echoed in my head. Don't contact her. Don't give them ammunition. I forced myself to put the phone down, forced myself to breathe. This was a tactic. Derek's tactic, probably. Emily might have gone along with it, but this had his fingerprints all over it. Call CPS, make official complaints, create a paper trail that made me look like the aggressor. Smart, evil, but smart. I went to my laptop and started documenting everything. The timeline of events, the photos I'd taken, the emails, the inspection request, every text message, every conversation, every interaction. If they wanted to play this game, fine. But I'd spent 30 years in a profession where documentation meant everything. I knew how to build a case. I worked until midnight, organizing everything into a clean narrative with supporting evidence. Then I emailed the whole file to myself, backed it up to cloud storage, and printed a hard copy that I put in a folder. When I finally went to bed, I was exhausted, but clear-headed. They'd escalated. Now I had to respond. Tuesday morning, I woke to another email from the county. The inspection report was ready. I opened it. Building Safety Inspection Report Property. My address. Inspector, William Martin. Date, November 18th, 2024. Violations found. 1. Room use changed from office to nursery without required permit. Code 21.4.2. 2. Baseboard electric heating insufficient safety clearance for infant sleeping area. Code 14.8.6. 3. Window lacks required safety latches for child's room on second floor. Code 18.3.1. 4. Electrical outlets not equipped with required tamper-resistant receptacles for rooms housing minors. Code 16.2.4. 5. Ventilation inadequate for infant sleeping room with blackout curtains restricting airflow. Code 12.53. 6. Room modification completed without inspection of fire safety egress. Code 9.1.7. Violations level, moderate correction, deadline, 30 days from inspection date, estimated correction cost, $1,200 and $2,500 room is condemned for use as infant nursery until all violations are corrected and re-inspection is passed. Failure to correct violations within 30 days will result in fines of $100 a day and possible legal action. I read it 3 times. 6 violations. Room condemned. 30-day deadline. Bill had done his job thoroughly. I forwarded the report to my backup email and added it to my documentation folder. Then I sat back and thought about what to do next. CPS was investigating me. Emily and Derek were gone. Trevor wasn't speaking to me. I had 30 days to fix violations in a room I didn't even want to be a nursery. Or, I opened the county website again and looked up the permit requirements for room conversion. If I wanted to keep the room as an office, I didn't need to fix the nursery violations. I just needed to file paperwork changing it back to its original designated use. Cost, $150 permit fee. Timeline, 2 to 3 weeks for approval. Requirements, floor plan showing office use. Verification that no structural changes were made. I filled out the application, uploaded photos of the room as it currently stood, empty. Wrote in the description, converting room back to home office from temporary nursery use. No structural changes were made. Original office setup being restored. Submitted. Paid the fee. Done. If they wanted to come back and use that room, they'd have to go through the whole permit process themselves. And they'd have to fix all 6 violations first. I felt a grim satisfaction settling in. The phone rang. Unknown number again. Hello? Mr. Morrison, this is Patricia Webb from CPS again. I've completed my initial investigation, and I need to inform you of my findings. Here it comes. After speaking with your daughter and reviewing the building inspection report, I've determined that while your actions were technically legal, they demonstrated a pattern of behavior designed to force a vulnerable person from your home. However, since no actual infant is involved yet, and since your daughter is now in stable housing, I'm closing the case with a warning. A warning. Yes, be advised that if any further complaints are filed regarding your treatment of your daughter or future grandchild, this office will take them very seriously. Your daughter has made it clear she feels unsafe around you. If that perception continues or worsens, we may need to take protective measures. Protective measures. Supervised visitation restrictions, restraining orders if necessary. I'm not saying that's where this is headed, but I want you to understand the potential consequences if this situation escalates further. I haven't done anything wrong. That's a matter of perspective, Mr. Morrison. From a legal standpoint, you're in the clear. From an ethical standpoint, you forced your pregnant daughter out of your home over a dispute about a room. That's going to look bad to anyone who reviews this case. She took my office without permission, and you responded by making her housing unstable during a high-risk pregnancy. I'm not here to judge who started what. I'm here to protect children and vulnerable persons. Right now, your daughter is both. I strongly suggest you consider whether this conflict is worth the damage it's doing to your family relationships. Is that all? For now, you'll receive written confirmation of the case closure within a week. Goodbye, Mr. Morrison. She hung up. I sat there feeling the weight of those words. Pattern of behavior designed to force a vulnerable person from your home. That's what they'd made it sound like. Not a father enforcing boundaries, not a homeowner protecting his property rights, a bully using technicalities to hurt someone weaker. That's the story they were going to tell. That's how they were going to paint me to everyone who'd listen. And maybe, I thought, that's how some people would see it. But I knew the truth. I knew what had really happened. Didn't I? I went upstairs to the nursery and stood in the doorway again. That empty room with its pink walls and abandoned curtain rod. I'd won this. I'd gotten my office back. But looking at it now, all I could see was my daughter crying. My granddaughter growing up without knowing me. My son looking at me like I was a stranger. The price of winning. I closed the door and went back downstairs. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Derek's father. Just wanted you to know Emily's blood pressure spiked last night. She's in the hospital for monitoring. Thought you'd want to know. Or maybe you don't care. My blood went cold. I called the number. It rang 5 times, then went to voicemail. This is Peter Morrison. I just got your text. Which hospital? Is Emily okay? Is the baby okay? Please call me back. I hung up and immediately tried Emily's number. Straight to voicemail. Derek's number. Voicemail. I stood in my kitchen, phone in my shaking hand, and felt the first real crack in the certainty I'd been carrying. What if something happened to her? What if the stress really had caused complications? What if the baby came early because of this? I tried Derek's father again. Voicemail. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, then stopped. If I showed up at the hospital, they'd call it harassment. CPS had just warned me. Derek's father's text was probably a trap, bait to get me to do something that would look bad. I couldn't go. I couldn't not go. I stood frozen in my hallway, keys in hand, torn between the father I wanted to be and the father they'd painted me as. The phone rang. Derek's father. Hello? She's fine. Baby's fine. Blood pressure came down with medication. They're keeping her overnight for observation, but the doctor says everything looks normal. Relief flooded through me. Thank God. Can I talk to her? No. Please. I just want to know she's okay. I told you she's okay. That's all you get. Emily doesn't want to talk to you. Derek definitely doesn't. And frankly, after hearing what you did, I don't blame them. What did they tell you I did? They told me you kicked out your pregnant daughter and called the building department on her nursery. That about right? That's not the whole story. Don't need the whole story. That part's enough. His voice was hard, disgusted. You know what? I've known a lot of sorry bastards in my life. But kicking out your own kid when she needs you most? That's a new low. She took my office without asking. I don't care about your office. I care about my daughter-in-law and my grandkid being safe. And right now, they're safer here than they ever were with you. Can you at least tell Emily I called? That I was worried? I'll think about it. He hung up. Wednesday morning, I woke up with a headache that felt like someone had taken a hammer to my skull. Stress headache. Haven't had one of those in years. I made coffee and checked my phone. No new messages, no updates about Emily. I tried calling Derek's father again. Voicemail. Left another message asking about Emily's condition, trying to sound calm and reasonable and not like a man who'd barely slept. Around 9, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. 2 people I didn't recognize. A man in a suit, a woman in business casual, both holding folders. I opened the door. Can I help you? Peter Morrison? The man said. Yes. I'm Detective Allen from the Sheriff's Department. This is Social Worker Kemp from County Services. We'd like to ask you some questions about a report filed regarding your daughter." My stomach dropped. "What kind of report?" "May we come in?" I stepped aside. They came into the living room. The detective sat on the couch. The social worker stayed standing, looking around the room with evaluating eyes. "Mr. Morrison," Detective Allen said, pulling out a notepad, "we've received a formal complaint alleging that you engaged in a pattern of harassment and intimidation toward your daughter, Emily Morrison Keller, resulting in her being forced from your home while 7 months pregnant. Can you tell us your side of what happened?" I sat down across from them. "This is about the office. Among other things, we've also received allegations that you threatened to harm your future grandchild, that you deliberately sabotaged your daughter's housing search, and that your actions directly caused a medical emergency requiring hospitalization." Each word hit like a punch. "That's not true. None of that is true." "Then what is true, Mr. Morrison?" I took a breath and told them everything: the office conversion, the trash bags, the lack of permits, the inspection. I showed them my documentation, the emails, the photos, the timeline. Detective Allen wrote steadily. Social worker Kemp kept watching me, face neutral. When I finished, Allen looked up. "So you're saying you never threatened anyone?" "Correct." "And you requested the building inspection purely for safety reasons?" "Yes." "Not to force your daughter to leave?" "I asked her to find her own place because she and her husband had disrespected my property rights. The inspection was separate." "But the timing was convenient." "The timing was necessary. They'd converted the room without permits. That's illegal." Allen made another note. "And when your daughter's rental application was denied because you gave a poor reference." I told the realtor the truth. She's a good person who made bad choices. That's not exactly a glowing recommendation for a pregnant woman looking for emergency housing. It's honest. Social worker Kemp spoke for the first time. "Mr. Morrison, I need to ask you something directly. Do you love your daughter?" The question caught me off guard. "Of course I do." "Do you want a relationship with your grandchild?" "Yes." "Then why are you doing things that make that impossible?" I looked at her. "I'm not making it impossible. I'm setting boundaries. Boundaries that happen to align with pushing away your entire family. That's not what I'm doing. Isn't it?" She sat down finally, folder in her lap. "Your daughter is in the hospital because of stress. Your son isn't speaking to you. Your son-in-law has filed a police report. You're isolated in this house, fighting with everyone who tries to be part of your life. Does that sound healthy to you?" "They're the ones who—" "I'm not asking about them. I'm asking about you." I didn't have an answer. Detective Allen closed his notepad. "Mr. Morrison, here's where we are. The harassment complaint is borderline. You didn't technically violate any laws. The building inspection was legal. Well, asking them to move out was legal. Even that reference to the realtor, while unkind, wasn't illegal. So what's the problem? The problem is the pattern. Individually, each action has an explanation. Together, they paint a picture of someone systematically pushing away his family. And when that family includes a pregnant woman who ended up in the hospital, it raises red flags. I didn't put her in the hospital. Her stress did, and you contributed to that stress. She contributed to my stress by stealing my office." Social worker Kemp leaned forward. "Mr. Morrison, I've worked with families in crisis for 15 years. I've seen every kind of dysfunction you can imagine. And you know what I see here? A man who's technically right, but fundamentally wrong. What does that mean? It means you won the battle and lost the war. You got your office back. Congratulations. Now you get to sit in it alone while your daughter raises your grandchild somewhere else. Was it worth it?" I felt something hot and sharp rise in my throat. "Get out." "Excuse me?" "Get out of my house. Both of you. Unless you're here to arrest me, you don't have any right to tell me how to feel about my own family." Detective Allen stood slowly. "Nobody's arresting you. We're just trying to understand the situation. You understand it fine. You understand that I enforced my property rights and my family didn't like it. That's all there is to understand." "Mr. Morrison, out, now." They exchanged glances. Then they left. I watched from the window as they got in their car and pulled away. Then I went upstairs to my office, that empty pink room I'd fought so hard for, and I sat on the floor against the wall. The silence in the house was absolute. I thought about what the social worker had said. Technically right, but fundamentally wrong. That phrase kept echoing. Was she right? Had I been so focused on winning that I'd lost sight of what mattered? No, they'd crossed a line. They'd taken something without asking. If I'd let that slide, if I'd just accepted it, what would they have taken next? Where would the boundaries have been? I'd done the right thing. But if I'd done the right thing, why did everything feel so wrong? My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Hello? Peter, it's Bill Martin. Bill, hey. I heard you had a visit from the sheriff today. Word traveled fast in this town. Yeah, CPS sent them. I figured. Look, I wanted to give you a heads up. The county's reviewing my inspection report. Someone filed a complaint saying it was retaliatory. Derek? Probably. They're going to re-inspect the nursery with a different inspector to verify my findings. Will they find the same things? If they're honest. Yeah, those violations are real. But Peter, if they decide my report was influenced by our friendship, it could cause problems for both of us. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drag you into this. I know, and I stand by my report. Everything I found was legitimate, but I wanted you to know there's some heat coming your way. More than there already is? Different kind. Legal heat. If they determine you filed a false inspection report to harass your daughter, that's fraud. That's criminal. I closed my eyes. The report wasn't false. I know that. You know that. But it's going to look bad when they find out we're friends. Like maybe I did you a favor. Did you? I did my job. But I can't prove I would have found the exact same violations if we'd never met. That's the problem with perception. I leaned my head back against the wall. This is getting out of control. Yeah, it is. So I'm going to give you some advice, friend to friend. Back down. What? Call your daughter. Apologize. Tell her you overreacted. Tell her they can come back. Whatever it takes to make this go away before it destroys both of you. I can't do that. Why not? Because it's not true. I didn't overreact. They stole my office. Peter, listen to me. You're right. They shouldn't have done that. But being right isn't going to help you when you're sitting alone in that house with no family and legal bills you can't afford. Swallow your pride. Make this right. By letting them win? By choosing your family over a room. There it was again. The same argument everyone kept making. Family over principle. Relationships over boundaries. I can't, I said. Bill sighed. Then God help you, because I don't know who else will. He hung up. I sat there on the floor of my empty office and looked around at the pink walls I'd fought so hard to reclaim. Technically right, but fundamentally wrong. My phone buzzed. Text from Trevor. Emily's out of the hospital, in case you cared. I texted back, thank you for letting me know. Is she okay? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. I tried again. Can you tell her I'm glad she's safe? Nothing. I set the phone down and put my head in my hands. What had I done? No. Don't think like that. I'd enforced reasonable boundaries. I'd protected my property. I'd stood up for myself. If that made me the villain in their story, fine. At least I knew the truth. But knowing the truth didn't make the house feel less empty. I got up and went downstairs. Trevor's door was closed. I knocked. What? He said. Can we talk? No. Trevor, please. I said no, Dad. I don't want to talk to you right now. I just want to explain. Explain what? How you put Emily in the hospital? How you're being investigated by the police? I flinched at the language. Trevor never used to curse around me. It wasn't about the room, I said through the door. Then what was it about? Respect, boundaries, being treated like I matter. Silence. Then, you matter, Dad. You just matter less than you think you do. That hit harder than anything else had. What does that mean? I said. It means you're not the center of the universe. It means sometimes other people's needs are more important than your feelings. It means Emily needed that room more than you needed your pride. I wasn't using it for pride. I was using it for work. You're retired. I was still using it. For what? Sitting in there feeling important? Pretending you still had a purpose? The words cut deep because there was truth in them. How many hours had I spent in that office doing nothing? Just sitting at the desk, staring at old files, remembering when I had somewhere to be every morning? That's not fair, I said. Life's not fair, Dad. You taught me that. Remember? When I didn't make varsity freshman year? When I didn't get into my first choice college? You said life's not fair, deal with it. So now I'm telling you the same thing. Life's not fair. You got old, you retired, your wife died, your kids grew up, your office became a nursery, deal with it. Trevor, I'm done talking. Leave me alone. I stood outside his door for a long moment, then went back downstairs. The house felt like a mausoleum. I sat on the couch and turned on the TV, some news program talking about something I didn't care about. I watched without seeing it. My phone buzzed. Email from the county. Your room conversion permit application has been approved. The room at my address is officially redesignated as a home office. This designation supersedes all previous nursery inspection violations. No further action required. I'd won. Again. The office was mine, legally and officially. They couldn't touch it now. I stared at the email until the screen went dark. Then I stood up, went to the kitchen, and poured myself a drink. Something I rarely did, but tonight felt like an exception. I drank it standing at the counter, looking out at the dark backyard. 30 years I'd worked. 30 years building a career, a reputation, a life. I'd done everything right. Played by the rules, followed the law, raised my kids, paid my bills, been a good husband, a good father, a good man. And somehow I'd ended up here. Alone in my house, at war with my family, drinking whiskey at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. How had this happened? I poured another drink. Somewhere across town, Emily was settling into Derek's parents' basement. Maybe sitting in a room that smelled like mold, rubbing her belly, crying. Maybe telling Derek how much she hated me. Maybe telling their unborn daughter stories about the grandfather she'd never know. I finished the second drink and went to bed. I dreamed about my wife, about coming home and finding her in my office, painting the walls pink, smiling at me like it was a surprise, like she'd done something wonderful. For Emily, she said in the dream, for our granddaughter. And in the dream, I smiled back. That's perfect, I said. Thank you. I woke up with tears on my face and morning light coming through the window. Thursday was a blur. I didn't leave the house, didn't eat much, just sat in my office, the one I'd fought so hard for, and stared at those pink walls. Around noon, my phone rang. Bill Martin. The reinspection happened, he said. They found the same violations I did. Your report's been cleared, you're in the clear legally. Okay. You don't sound relieved. I'm not. Pause. Peter, I'm worried about you. Don't be. You need to fix this, whatever it takes. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're about to lose your whole family over pride. It's not pride? Then what is it? I didn't have an answer. Bill sighed. Call me if you need anything. I mean it. Thanks, Bill. I hung up and sat there in the quiet. My office, my victory, my kingdom of pink walls and empty space. Worth it. Had to be worth it.